Yeah, I mean, if everything was just hunky dory all the time, I mean,
Yeah, that'd be terrible.
yeah.
Boy, that'd be so
Yeah.
bad. Man, just
And we're back. Welcome back, everyone. Craig and Jonah here today. How are you today, Jonah?
pretty tired.
Big
It's the
smile on your face.
longest day of the year around there, and
yeah.
burning the candle at both ends right now.
Go on. Tell us
Don't
more.
get the Well, I don't know. Just tired. The kids are, home from school for the summer, and so we stay up really late. And for us to have time together, you have to stay up pretty late, and I have to get up early. I don't know. I'm getting tired. But the other night, one thing that I am proud of is that Dolores was watching. We were watching TV, and she's like, "I'm just too tired to go to bed." It's like, "Well, I'll carry you." So I carried her up to the bedroom and laid her in bed.
Wow.
And, it's not that impressive. She weighs like 110 pounds, but she was pretty happy with me, and I was
Nice.
pretty happy with myself. She was scared that I was going to drop her. But
Yeah.
I was like, "You can trust me." So
Nice.
that was a good test.
That's these guys on Twitter, they like to post about how much you can deadlift and all this and that. But I think carrying your wife
To bed,
up
that's
to
it.
bed is I haven't.
Yeah, I could deadlift 245 for around 10 reps right now. So
Okay. I haven't tried carrying my wife in a while. I don't know if she'd trust me to try.
she did. She was hesitant. But I was like, "It'll be okay. I know I can do this." And but I've been cutting weight too, so I'm down like 20 pounds. I don't know.
Man, you're just hitting peak performance here.
Yeah. I feel like it in a lot of ways, so it's good. But yeah, so that note, the last time we were talking about just how if you want to communicate something important to your wife, you might write her a note and give it to her. And so I did that a couple of weeks ago. It was just a note telling her how much I loved her and just that I was sorry for just any time that I had upset her. And it was really heartfelt. And I don't know why I just really felt like I don't know. I felt strong that I should write it.
This is just a handwritten
Just
note.
a handwritten note on a piece of notebook paper. Nothing fancy at all. I gave it to her and I said, "Read this. Don't read it right now." And then she looked alarmed, like I had given her something just like wild, but she didn't know what it was. I said, "Just read it when you have a quiet moment." So she put it in her pocket and she forgot about it.
Oh.
So all of a sudden I come downstairs and all the kids are reading it.
Oh.
Our youngest daughter had
my.
grabbed it, and the kids were talking about it. They were talking about what I wrote, like the exact phrases, and our youngest son was kind of mocking me.
It's a good thing you didn't have anything too.
Oh
gory in
gosh,
there.
because we had talked about writing like romantic stories about each other. So I mean, that would have really been something. But no, this was just a heartfelt note. But it made me uncomfortable. And then she took it, she read it, and she was happy with it. But she just said that she put it in her pocket, and she just got busy. And
So it wasn't that she gave it to the kids to read; they found it.
no,
Oh golly.
yeah, she did her laundry. She set the note that I will never understand my wife. Like, how on earth could you not read it? So she took it, she set it on like the windowsill in her bedroom, but the wind blew it on the floor. And for whatever reason, our daughter thought this was, even though there's other stuff that she could have picked up probably, she picked that up and took it right to her brother's. She needed some interpretation there. She knew it was handwritten. She needed some interpretation.
Let me say this in the gentlest way I can, hopefully not get myself in trouble, but I do not understand women sometimes.
I
speak on behalf of all men.
It's a painful, how could you not read that?
Yeah.
She just well, I just didn't really have time, and I just got busy doing other things. It's like,
You're
gosh, I will never understand my wife totally. And maybe that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, maybe that is that.
Like, you get bored.
Yeah. There, even after how many years, how many kids, there's the
mystery there.
mystery.
Boy, isn't that true?
Yeah. Yeah. I could relate to that a
Like,
little bit.
if you and I were in some sort of relationship like that, we'd have each other figured out in a week.
That's right. Yep. Maybe
But this here, I will never figure out my wife.
just when you think you've got them figured out, they throw you
They
a
go and do
curveball.
something like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so literally she didn't even read it.
Okay, but she
And so
did
I was
not.
kind of upset, because I thought, well, she didn't respond. That doesn't mean she, you know, didn't like it or didn't read it. I don't know. So, but then when she told me, oh, I totally forgot about it. Like, oh my gosh.
Do you think she would have been upset if the roles had been reversed and she had written a heartfelt note for you and you just never got
I don't even want to
to
speculate. I don't like playing that game.
Well, good.
Yeah. So I'm just glad it wasn't anything too racy though, because I almost put something in there,
Yeah.
like even just a few lines of poetry or.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dodged one there. Might have had to have a birds of the bees conversation before you were ready.
Dolores is actually really good about that. She was talking about, she talks to them about just the animals mating or whatever. So, like, I think we haven't had the talk with our oldest son who's going into the 7th grade now. We probably will have to soon. But when he read the note, he was really looking at me like, what on earth are you talking about? And Dolores was like, well, he's probably old enough that we could talk to him about relationships and just how things happen sometimes.
I think we're making some progress sort of on that front in our home. So, and for those of you who know my wife, don't pass this on to her, please.
If your name rhymes with Sherry.
Yeah, that's right. Do not. But my wife.
That means she just turned it up louder.
Yeah, right. We're gonna get this transcribed and notarized and hand delivered. My wife, and I've talked about this in the past, has always been uncomfortable being intimate when there's anyone else up in the house. Not even like able to see or hear anything, but just the idea of
if they're in the same room, I guess.
Yeah. I think I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again. I heard of a big family and they had like one bedroom. And the kids were just supposed to line up against the wall, facing the wall until mom and dad were done, and then they could turn around and come back. But
Dolores does not believe that story.
She doesn't.
No, she does not. She thinks that's got to be fake.
I'm absolutely. I mean, I believe the story is true, but that I would probably be a little uncomfortable with that too. But I could power through.
Some performance pressure there.
If that was my only option, I'd find a way. Put our earbuds in or something like that.
Yeah, especially wonder, was it like weekly or monthly or how?
Well, that maybe I don't know. Maybe
because definitely at the monthly level.
Yeah. Fortunately, we're not to that point, but we have. So she's kind of graduated to the point where the kids that are on that are in the basement, which is. We're on the top floor in the main level in the basement. She's fine if they're up in the basement, but any kids that are on the same floor as us in a different bedroom, that's just not. And it's not. I mean, it's not like we're like loud and rambunctious,
just shaking the house.
No,
swinging from the rafters.
No, I know. It's pretty tame, right?
Don't sell yourself short.
So that's kind of getting back to what you said about the summer. That's my biggest beef about the summer is the kids don't have a regular sleep schedule and they stay up later. And I'm an early riser. I mean, we're recording
we were late
this
today, but
5:30, 6 a.m. And that's pretty normal for me. So, it gets to be about 10 o'clock at night and I'm out of gas. But kids aren't always asleep at that time during the summer.
Mm-hmm.
So she still is hesitant to get busy if any of the, let's say, younger kids are, which I don't understand that because younger kids are going to be oblivious anyway. But our college-age daughter is home from school. She listens to this.
She does, huh?
Occasionally. So just turn it off for a while. She was up.
Just turn it off for a while. Yeah. Like that's going to work.
She was up and she was doing her work at the kitchen table, which is kind of on the opposite end of the house. And I was a little afraid that she would would be unwilling to go any further as long as that, but we did. But she had to tell me to keep it quiet for a while. So we're making progress.
All
so
right.
we're
Well, that's
okay.
good. Yeah. Yeah. For us, I think as long as the kids are occupied watching a movie, it's okay.
Yeah. I don't know. This is
You got to make time for it though, or it's never going to happen. So, especially in the summer for us, like we were up really late last night,
which is fine. I mean,
but it wears on you after a while.
Yeah. I mean, beggars can't be choosers, but it would be. I'm at my prime from about 6 a.m. until about 2 p.m.
Yeah.
And then I start
petering out.
Yeah. That's right. But it's been really, so anyway, last week we traveled to California to visit our oldest son, and naturally, as a Catholic and NFP guy, I was paying attention to the NFP chart as we got closer to that, and it like lined up perfectly, which I was like,
well, that's great.
Something's gonna fall. But we were gonna get out there on technically on the first day, but it was gonna be a travel day. We hadn't seen our son and his girlfriend, who we have never met for a while, and I was a little, I don't know, that for me, the first day after what's usually 10, 12 to 14 days of abstinence is like, that's a big day.
That is a big day.
Like,
don't miss that for anything.
Yeah, right. But by then I'm pretty stressed out. Like, I'm pretty maxed out in terms of my
carrying capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the guys relate. Women don't have this
true.
experience.
Oh, yeah. We had that conversation last night. She's like, well, it was just like a few days ago, right? It's like Friday. Like, I mean,
It's funny because we got talking about that. So because we were traveling, we had some time in the car because we had to travel about 3 hours to the airport. And I popped in everyone's favorite Catholic podcaster other than us, right?
Favorite Catholic podcaster that possibly wears mascara.
Yeah. Timothy Gordon. I guess I probably didn't even have to give the name at that point, but he and his wife, who he allowed to record the session, I suppose.
He let her
do that.
Wow, she must have been very grateful.
We're talking about Catholic marriage and mutual submission, or the submission of the wife to the husband, and this quote unquote kind of feminist idea of mutual submission that they have a really difficult time with.
Okay.
And my wife had all the same reactions. She had never really heard of him, and she had all the same reactions to him that we do. Plus she was really, really offended by is this really abrasive? That's the name calling and slurs they use is pretty embarrassing, actually.
It's wild that he's, pretty tight with Ripperger and stuff like that. Like,
yeah,
some big people.
I don't know if he sees all that stuff or he's fine with it, but
in a sex-crazed world.
Yeah. But it was actually, so it was interesting because it was a really our mutual feelings about Timothy Gordon was a bonding moment for us, right? But one of the things that we got talking about, and this is, I think I'm always kind of learning a little bit about the other gender, because he was talking about his they're doing matchmaking now, Catholic matchmaking.
Yeah, I think we talked about it, or you told me about it at least.
Yeah, and the one thing that they had out said we're looking for women between 18 and 25.
It's a narrow window.
No one else need to apply, I guess.
All right.
And we were talking about, like, I understand why, I don't know, unhappy men or just traditional men are attracted to that old model because it just kind of gives you a chance to boss the ladies around and get what you want.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I'm struggling to understand why that's attractive to the women.
Hmm.
And she's like, well, she said, this whole idea of submission and all that. She's like, women want to feel secure and want a man that can lead,
Okay.
but not like dominate kind of thing. Like they
All right.
and I kind of always knew that, but she put it in terms like, okay, I get like and I think in our relationship, I have noticed when we've been struggling or I've been struggling to, life's just been more than I can kind of manage. Life's kind of crazy around us. I think that makes her feel insecure, and I think it plays out in our personal and intimate life.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. That's interesting.
So, and we're in a much better.
Did she give you examples of where she wants you to lead?
No, no, but I mean, and I says she acknowledged like she can be kind of indecisive, and I've learned that she. In the past, I've made the mistake of not being assertive enough.
Yep,
like
same with me.
Right, you
Yep.
try to
please her.
Yeah, try to be
you don't know what she wants,
accommodating.
but really, I think she wants me. Like my wife too wants me to tell her.
Yeah,
this is the best way.
Yeah, because and I've and I think men tend to develop this hesitation about kind of calling the shots or making the final decision because it seems like if that goes bad,
yep. I knew it.
Yeah, I told you. Like it's our faults. I mean, and
that's how it's portrayed.
Yeah, and so I think men tend to develop this hesitancy about being the person who signed the order, so to speak, because if it goes poorly, which sometimes they do.
For the longest time, I would run just a matrix of calculations about all the different ways this could possibly go and which way my wife would be the most happy with versus what I knew I would do.
Yeah.
And that was the wrong way to do it.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident that is all in all a bad approach.
But
and
really,
women aren't happy with it either.
And the problem is though is when she second guesses your decision. And then it puts you back in that state of mind where
and I don't know, maybe that is just depends on season and circumstances. I mean, for us, it's a lot of things outside our control, so to speak. It could be what's going on with our kids, both in the house, out of the house, job, finances, stress with parents and things like that. So there's a lot of things environmental that can I think affect how we feel things are going and how secure and confident we feel about the future.
Yeah.
But I could definitely, it definitely seems to me that as we've become a little more secure in our circumstances, she seems happier. And I think trust my judgment a little more, maybe. And I've made some boo-boos in the past in pursuing things that I thought were really, really important. And then on hindsight, I think that was a bad decision. And so maybe that in the past has played a part, but there is definitely something to a woman, a wife feeling confident in that she can trust her husband's judgment. Not that it's always perfect, but that it's as reasoned and makes the best use of the information you have at the time. I think makes a big difference.
Well, it's interesting too, because I think then if a woman did grow up in a household where she couldn't trust her parents, it kind of sets you up for a difficult situation.
Yeah.
Because then she's second guessing you, and
Yeah. And that's one of the things that we've talked a little bit about, maybe more so off the record, is I think I think there is a lot of stuff about our environment in childhood and our relationship with our parents that kind of bakes our DNA a little bit. Really, and carries with it into the marriage.
Yeah.
And I personally think a lot of us could benefit from early therapy coaching type stuff to at least identify these things. And it may not be that there may not be an obvious fix or solution to some of this stuff, but maybe being
least to be aware of it.
being aware of it can help a little bit.
Yeah.
The other thing that we talked about was how, I mean, I was telling her, like, I feel like our marriage is the most enjoyable, funnest it's been since our honeymoon.
After that, it was all downhill.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
It was
it's tough, man.
it was a sharp off, it was tough. We started having kids right away. I was still in school. We were penniless for a long time. Or just always a little behind. Our needs were always a little behind what I was able to make. And then we just always having, for her, she's like, man, I didn't realize what a toll being pregnant and or having a small child took on me.
Mm-hmm.
And now we can see it because our youngest is almost 3 and we're not pregnant. So that, I think, is probably especially...
John Farrell's rolling his eyes right now.
Yeah. I know. I mean, and we talk about it every so often, you give her just one more. And I honestly don't have any strong interest in having another. It's one of those things, like, if it happens, we'll be okay. It would be the hardest thing about it, I think, is just because I think for the first time in a long time, our marriage feels like it's like thriving and growing and not just trying to stay
survive.
Afloat, right?
It's a good place to be.
Yeah. And so it's really fun. And I think it's not just good for us. It's good for the whole family, the kids.
That's, we're at the same point too, where our marriage is thriving in a way that hasn't since before we were married, really. And, man, it feels good. Like, it feels good, and it is good for everybody.
Yeah.
Like when I come home from work, she greets me with a kiss, or we'll sit and hold hands on the couch. Like, I mean, that stuff is really important to me. And you just can't have that in an environment where you're constantly trying to catch up with just everything around the house, and there's just no time for even affection.
Yeah.
That's tough. And that's like a lot of marriage when you have little kids. So, I mean, you're talking like, you guys been married 25 years? Not that long. Getting close.
23. I think it'll be 23 this year. Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be 14 for us. We've been together almost 20.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think this is maybe the either ignored or very underestimated factor of marriage is just what a commitment having children is, and how very, very easy. And we talked about this, I said, it's so easy to just kind of put your relationship on hold while you're in the throngs of trying to just change diapers, keep toddlers alive, make food, all that kind of laundry.
I think that's why King Solomon had the 300 concubines, to help with the 700 wives around the house.
Yeah.
Keep them happy.
Yeah. I mean, it is really hard, and it is really, really hard for my wife, and I think for a lot of women, to be able to have all of that going on in your head and then clear enough space in your brain to get in the moment to do that,
to be affectionate or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it is super, super hard. For us guys, it tends not to be. I mean,
for whatever reason,
we could make something happen in the middle of a freeway if we had to, probably, right? That's just how men and women tend to be different, right?
Yep.
But but I think those differences become super, super pronounced when you're in that season of life where you have small kids, where that's where I it became really, really obvious to me that there's a big disconnect between the black and white rules, the theory, the philosophy of marriage and what's moral and what's not, or there's just such a huge difference between that and the actual real day-to-day existence of a couple trying to raise kids.
Yeah.
Right. That doesn't mean that it should be just whatever, anything goes, but I just, I personally had to develop a much more grace and latitude for myself and my wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
I really had to understand and believe that she's not really rejecting me as much as she's just overwhelmed. Like there just isn't enough.
And that's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough for a man to understand because that isn't logical to us.
Oh.
Yeah, and I think part of it too for us is that I've only recently began to understand what my wife is communicating to me. Like,
Yeah.
it's incredible it took me this long for it to click. But I mean, I heard what she was saying, but it just didn't click. Like, I did not understand what she meant.
Yeah.
You know, like I would do exactly what she said, but she didn't. You know, it's complicated. I think men and women just communicate differently. And I'm thankful that I figured it out, at least for right now.
and I think the same is true for us, and I think it's gone both ways. Like I think now that our kids have aged a little bit and we kind of catch our breath a little bit, I think maybe for the first time she understands a little bit of how my experience is and how I think about things. And I suspect maybe it's true for you as well, but I think for a lot of us, it does take time and maybe not being in the midst of having small children or whatever kind of chaos you have in your life. It's not something you intuitively understand when you first get married. I don't think.
Definitely.
Right?
Without a doubt.
It takes years and experience, but I think we have also just
years of pain, years of toiling.
Yeah. And I go back and forth on whether that is a bug or a feature. Is it because, like I said, I mean, our marriage right now is just as good as it's ever been. Like in terms of just enjoying it, looking forward to coming home and all that kind of stuff. But it came after just a lot of hopeless days and whatever.
And I think it's easy for anybody to get divorced. And so if you are going through a tough time, even no matter how dark it is, I mean, for goodness sakes, we went through some really tough times, but you can come out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And most of it boils down to communication and intimacy. And if either of those is missing, you're going to have problems with the other.
Yeah. I mean, I do think every couple has to kind of go through some kind of go through a boot camp, if you will, of just because.
And it might last 20 years.
Yeah, I wish we could speed that up a little bit, right?
Well, you can. You just have to be willing to have difficult conversations.
Yeah, that was
and understand it.
That was the biggest mistake. One of the biggest mistakes I made was being afraid to communicate what I really felt because I was afraid of being attacked for it.
I generally avoid confrontation.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
same with me.
Yeah. I think that was definitely, like, if I could go back, we were talking a little bit about, so again, disclaimer for anyone that's listening to this that knows me, knows my family.
Sherry.
This cannot be shared with anyone else. So our oldest son is getting married. And I, because of the way things worked out with our younger kids, and he and I never really connected much outside of just being his dad. Like, he wasn't really into hunting and fishing too much, and I was busy working. Evenings are oftentimes giving my wife a break from the youngest, and so I sort of regret the fact that we didn't just go out and do things, the two of us, very much at all. And so we have a good relation. I mean, we don't have a bad relationship, but I wouldn't say we have a super close relationship. But I certainly have never had a chance to sit down and talk to him about some of the deep kinds of things that we discuss here. No, my dad didn't do that with me either, and I suspect that's true for a lot of people. But you know, I would certainly encourage him, and it's fun to see him and his bride to be and just in that new phase where you just enjoy each other and right.
It feels
kind of
good
blissfully unaware of what's
the hurricane that's approaching.
Yeah. And I don't want to burst the bubble, but I do kind of want him to just be prepared that this is not...
It isn't always going to be like this.
Yeah.
But it can be. But you're going to go through some times. And without a doubt, that's unavoidable.
Yeah.
I just had no idea how long it would last.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. You think, well, this is just a short phase or whatever, but it really didn't. For us, it never changed until something changed, right? And for us, it was being forced into having some uncomfortable conversations, not because I finally mustered up the guts to do it, but we were forced to talk about some of these things. I really wish I had had those conversations much earlier and put myself out there much earlier. Man, you talk about regrets.
If nothing else, this podcast has been the best thing for my marriage that's ever happened. Because she'll ask me, like when we're done, like tonight, she'll be like, so what'd you guys talk about? And, it really opens up the lines of communication where it's not just my feelings, but just something that we talked about.
Yep. For sure. For us too, as well. Like I mean, just even, in the last couple of years, we've just grown so much as a couple and kind of rediscovered each other. Because we had that, when we were dating and engaged, like it was just like you're living on cloud nine, right? Like nothing, you're like, there's nothing that could ever mess this up.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. But so it's been super, super fun. And but for me, the hard part was, I think having the confidence to say the things that needed to be said that, for one reason or another, I just was afraid of either adding conflict or adding additional things for my wife to worry about or feel like I'm adding additional demands. I just kind of kept it to myself, and that was a mistake, or at least it was a mistake to wait as long as I did. Yeah. I think
same for me.
So, but better late than never. And, now like I said, I'm just super, super thrilled with how our marriage is now. And I think she is too. And that's despite the fact that given the season of our life and NFP and charting, we have a lot more abstaining going on now than we did in the past, even with kids, but the quality of the relationship is just so much better now. So much better.
It was great.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's really tough for the people that are in the grind where your marriage is not going well, but it can all be overcome.
Yeah.
And it's through difficult conversation.
Yeah.
So you might as well just start doing it.
Yeah. Yep. The other thing that I did that's sort of related to that is, and again, developing the ability to truly, not even if you can't understand, but empathize with your spouse's perspective that's different from yours. Like, even when you feel like you're being mistreated, understand that they probably are not doing it because they don't love you anymore or despise you for the most part.
That can happen.
Yeah, but it's just part of this is just how differently we look at the world. And one of the things that really helped me a lot, because I didn't do this for a long time, was actively and daily pray for my wife.
Mm.
They always say pray together as a couple. We've never really been great at that like just the two of us sitting down and praying, and maybe that's something that we'll soon do. But once I got to the point where I actively prayed for my wife, for her happiness and for the goodness of our marriage, having to pray for your spouse, even on days when the last thing you want to do is see their face, really, really helps.
Happens.
Right. And maybe she did the same. Maybe she started doing the same thing. I don't know.
Dolores actually sent me a marriage prayer the other day that was similar to that.
Okay.
Just about, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
But she sent it to me I don't know.
Yeah.
So maybe she's praying for me. I don't know.
I'm definitely a firm believer. Like, that is one thing you can absolutely control. You can control how you pray and who you pray for.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are not actively praying for your spouse, for your children, for your marriage, start doing that.
It's true.
It doesn't have to
Great
be anything
advice.
fancy, but just mentally.
Yeah.
I pray for my wife. I've always wanted my wife's happiness. I would say sincerely wanted care more about her happiness than my own, but
Mm-hmm.
hopefully those are not mutually exclusive from each other. Right?
Yeah.
But developing that skill, I think, made a huge difference. Maybe just the prayer itself changed. Maybe the prayer did in fact help my wife to become a happier person, and our marriage to become better. But I think it's also just it's a mindset thing, because it just causes you to, prioritize them even when things are difficult and dark, and you'd just like to crawl under a rock and die. Right?
If you're at that stage of your marriage, I've been there.
Yeah.
Craig's been there. Don't worry about it. It'll get better.
Mm-hmm.
It's always darkest right before the dawn, too.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that is something that has continually happened. Just when I think, gosh, this just terrible.
Yeah.
And then it gets better.
Yeah, I think, and I think, I don't think it's terrible that there aren't ebbs and flows in marriage. Like, there are ebbs and flows in marriage. Like, it's,
Mm-hmm.
I think
There's
you can
time for renewal, and that's great.
Yeah, I mean, if everything was just hunky dory all the time, I mean,
Yeah, that'd be terrible.
yeah.
Boy, that'd be so
Yeah.
bad. Oh, man, just all the intimacy you can handle.
Oh, my.
All the enjoyment. Boy, that's just terrible. Yeah.
If it could just be a little more spread out and a little,
Yeah.
mixed in more, instead of like kind of like this is the norm for a while.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe that's the purpose for the female cycle. Like, I mean, because it does ebb and flow every month. I
will say, and as grumpy as I get about some of this stuff, I will say that in many ways, natural family planning and that whole season within a month sort of thing
Mm-hmm.
really is good for our marriage.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's difficult, and there are things that we, are told as Catholics that I think make it maybe more difficult than it needs to be. But there is something beautiful and, like I said, cyclical, because as horrible as the abstinence is, it sure makes it sweeter when
It's true.
you're not in that period.
Yeah.
Absence does kind of make the heart grow fonder a little bit.
For me, 4 days of abstinence is fine.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, if you are never, like, if you're not in a situation where you have to abstain or whatever, I would, like, for me, like, that ideal time is like if we had a period of 4 to 6 days a month at least where you just stayed apart. I think
you would self-impose that?
I'm just saying it would be
What was
beneficial.
it? 4 to 6 days?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you had a minimum
4 is
period of
fine.
4 to 6 days off limits, I think I'm not saying I would self-impose that, but I think it would be beneficial to most marriages.
I don't know. I don't know. There's this couple that I know that they are like post menopause and they do it every day.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
It does sound just absolutely horrid. And like, I guess she's really enthusiastic about it. So like, I'm sure it's just terrible. That poor guy is just suffering. So
keep him in your prayers. May we become afflicted with whatever they have.
I'll be sure to.
Take this, give me this cross, Lord. I see what you've done for other people. May it happen.
I'll be sure to tell him, it might be better for you guys if you just took 4 to 6 days off. So that's all I got there. I mean, that's the only example that I have. I don't know what Joe Pilot's life is like there, but
I will say 10, 12, 14 days is too much. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's all I would say. Like
redlining
we get
everything.
the point. We get the point.
The suffering is there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that remains my, that's the 1-star review that I'll continue to give this stuff is that is beyond what is, I think, good and necessary. Now, and so we continue to survive that period. And maybe when I become just more Christopher West like, I'll be just like, oh, bless, this is such a blessed time. But
oh man,
yeah. bless. Thank you, Lord.
Yes, like that is just bull crap.
Yeah. So I do think that. And these are some of the things that my wife and I had a chance to talk about when we were, in the car and just away without the kids. So, the other thing I would say is this: the other probably the biggest mistake that we made throughout our marriage was not just taking time away, even if it's just a date night, but ideally taking a night, like an overnight away without kids.
I can't even imagine that'd be like.
Yeah.
We haven't done that in 12 years.
Yeah. Well, send us your kids. It's really, really amazing how helpful that is. Just not even if you don't get into some deep conversations, although like there's a decent chance that'll happen. Just to be together and not, let her mind kind of clear itself a little bit. Don't be worried about the kids. Don't be thinking about the kids. Just enjoy each other's presence. That is something that we really just didn't do because we felt either it was too much. It was too difficult. Sitters didn't have the money for sitters, which we didn't, but we would have made it happen, right? That would have made a huge, huge difference. So that I think that was probably the biggest mistake, is not having that ongoing dating part of our relationship.
My wife especially when they're younger, we do leave the house now where everybody stays home for a little while anyways, but she was just so reluctant to have anybody watch the kids. And just as far as like, she felt like they wouldn't eat well or whatever. She'd come home to a mess and it just wasn't worth it to her. So that was her point against it. And I mean, I can see that, but it doesn't help me in our relationship, I guess. But
well, truly,
send us the kids.
Send us the kids. Go away. Take some time. I think
we're getting closer.
You've helped us when we've done that, when we went on our first away trip. But that really is probably the best thing you can do for your marriage, especially when you're in that child phase, is to just go away and do something together.
Yeah.
And then just communicate better. So listen to our podcast together. I know I love that. We get messages. There are actually couples that listen to it.
It is great.
I don't think my wife's ever listened to it.
Dolores says she doesn't want to get upset with me over something I say that might be stupid. And I mean, that's fair. I mean, if you're going to talk this much about your relationship, you're going to say something
I don't know that that's my wife's concern so much. Is it just, I don't know. That's just not just not something that is just compellingly interesting to her, I guess. So, which is fine.
That's fine.
It's probably safer
It's
for us.
much safer for
Probably
everybody.
safer
yeah.
for us that she doesn't. You to your audience that know her, you need to
not talk to her about her fears of intimacy without a floor of empty space between.
You wreck that. So, okay.
All right.
Well, So sorry for the unusually uplifting nature of this episode.
We're both in a bliss period.
Yeah, sorry guys. I know you usually come here for the wailing and gnashing of teeth, but that'll come.
True, man. That'll come. Hopefully not for a long time.
Yeah. So we've just been very blessed, and I really enjoy sharing this stuff with other people because
it's important.
Yeah.
Like, because marriages can be fixed, and that's the real truth. No matter how bad it is, for the most part. I'm sure there's always extreme circumstances, but for the most part, for 95% of people, it can probably be fixed. Yeah.
Difficult marriage can be one of the most heavy crosses you can imagine, but a well-functioning marriage can just be such an asset, like the best part of your life.
It's true.
So,
there
just doesn't seem to be any middle ground. It's either one or the other, right?
Yeah. Boy, that's true.
So hopefully if it's been a while since you felt like it was blissfully positive, hopefully maybe some of the things we talk about can help you get to there.
Yep.
Okay.
Communicate.
Yes.
It's number one.
Amen.
And listen.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for all that, Jonah. Good luck to you.
Yeah, good luck to you too, man.
Thanks to everyone for listening. And until next time, everyone.
Bye.
Have a good one.